This is Goku-san DBZ and welcome back for a new special top 5 list. This is going to be a 5 video game recommendations list strictly on indie games. So this is like 5 indie games to check out and worth playing, definitely hands down. I think these are all games I have personally played myself. And I can vouch that they're really good, especially if you like interesting art styles and do like independent games. These are games I recommend. First up is a game that got a very limited physical release. I don't know how many were released or if it got a physical release or not on the Switch, but it only had 1,600 physical copies made on the PS4. And it's a great like 2D on-rail shooter. It harkens back to classics from the 80s, specifically games for things like the Commodore 64 and other stuff, or even games like on the Sega Genesis. The game is called Hyper Sentinel. It's a really cool old school art style wise. It is definitely difficult. That is one thing I will state about the game. It's definitely a game you better expect some brutal punishment. It definitely plays like an old school game from the 80s, early 90s. So you can definitely expect a lot of difficulty in the game. But if you're somebody like me who grew up on those old school like on-rail shooters and stuff, you'll get the hang of it reasonably quick. Though some of the gameplay elements are a little bit more tricky than old school games. There's a little more complexity of that, and it's all about timing is the key to the game. But it's definitely what I recommend. Coming in at number 4 is What Remains of Edith Finch, which I just got done recording my playthrough the other day. That is one of 3 indie games that I'm working on game playthroughs of over the next few months. But game 1 is finished playthrough. Total, the game more or less won't take you more than maybe 2 hours to beat. It's more or less a glorified walking simulator, except in flashbacks you have many different like elements of gameplay, key differences from flashbacks of each character. I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything. Now, if you have PS Plus, I'm sure you probably already added it to your library since it was a free game just like a couple months back. And I will say it is definitely worth a playthrough, and I highly recommend it. Heck, even some game critics who are very picky people, way more picky than me, really likes the game, and that is somebody called Jim Sterling of the Jimquisition. But I agree with him that it's sadly a very overlooked game. It has a lot of good elements to it, specifically in the storytelling aspect. That is where the game excels in. Coming in at number 3 is a game actually I reviewed a few years back. It is superb. I've recently replayed it on PS4. I have it physically on the PS3. And that is, of course, a game called Journey, which has become probably one of the best well-known indie games in the last probably decade. It's probably become one of the best well-known indie games, definitely of console. And it doesn't hurt it was a Sony exclusive. So, but yeah, if you've never played Journey, check out Journey. It is fun. The music is amazing. That is one of the best parts about Journey is the music. It's some of the best music I've heard of any indie game. Coming in at number 2 of indie games is a game eventually I'll try to upload. It's strangely enough an indie game from Electronic Arts of all companies. I never would have thought that there'd be a game from EA that I would be praising a lot. But it's an indie game and done by Electronic Arts. It's called Fe. F-E. Well, however you want to pronounce it. It's up to you. But Fe is a superb game. The art style is just gorgeous. And I highly recommend it. And if I'm not mistaken, it's only available digitally. So that is one of the few unfortunate things about Faye, though it is still an incredibly well done, well executed game. Now, before number one, here's 3 honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut. Now, in the future, I will be doing another top 5 indie games list of games to check out. So, stay tuned in the future for that. The first of indie games I recommend is a game. Actually, I only just started playing, but I already have to say I recommend it. Though it might actually make a top 5 in the future. And that is The Outer Wilds, which is another future playthrough I'll try to do. Of course, exclusive to Microsoft and PC. Also of honorable mentions is a incredibly well done, well executed game. Now, whether or not you can really consider it, it's hard to say, but I still consider it, to a certain extent, at least the beginning of the franchise, which was, of course, puzzle games, the Siberia games. Technically not indie, but I still consider, especially the first one, the original Xbox. It's a great puzzle game. If you like good, difficult puzzles that actually make you use your brain, that's a good thing. Also, of other indie games, I'm gonna have to probably give a recommendation to is actually I forgot the game now, darn it. Anyways, let's get on to number one. Number one is a puzzle slash platformer game, and it is beautiful. In fact, I've already done a full playthrough of the game, and it's on my YouTube channel. Check it out if you're curious about the artwork and style. The music is good, and it's just a really fun game. Your character can transform into a bird, and that's how you travel from place to place in this world. The world basically is made up of these large to really tiny floating islands in the air. So that's good that at least you can fly from island to island. And this is actually a game I've picked up twice, PS4 as well as Xbox One. And it's a great game, and it's also out on PC as well. And it's a game, I'm not sure if they've ported it to the Switch or not, since I don't own a Switch, I'm not sure. But it's a great game, I highly recommend, and it's called Air, but spelled instead of Air, Aer. Air, Memory of Old. And seriously, a criminally underrated game. But with that said, these are 5 indie games I recommend checking out, and stay tuned for a future top 5 list for another, because there's a couple of specific other games I want to mention in the future I recommend checking out. But anyways, I'll see y'all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel.